that time once again for another episode of the Grunge Bible Podcast. This is episode number 243 coming to you. My name is Chris Salona, and I'm joined by Ethan Shalloway. And Ethan Shalloway, how are you today? What's going on?
Thank you, Chris. I am doing well.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to this wonderful world of
welcome
Grunge
aboard.
Bible Podcast. Yeah, welcome. I don't know. Do we usually we always welcome people, but
yeah, you're a big when you lead into the episode, you're a big hello and welcome to another episode. And I always try to think of something witty, but it just doesn't really work out.
Well, I try to as well, but that's just so good. It's so easy and good. So I kind of fall back on it because
some people have
you freeze up when I freeze up when I'm about to intro.
Me too, man. Yeah, it's the hardest part of the episode.
It
is the beginning, but obviously you need the beginning. So
you need the beginning,
and this is the beginning. So episode 243, man.
Anyway, we are very happy that you guys are all with us today.
Yeah. We needed it.
This is where we say, please stay to the end of the episode for a little treat. It's the end
coming soon. Yeah,
it's gonna be the end.
Yeah, the treat is not having to listen to us for another 7 days afterwards.
Yeah, we're happy to be here, and one of our favorite things to do on this podcast is our daily check-ins. So that's what we're going to start with. So, Chris,
it's
how
very
are you doing, man?
check-in.
Mental health check-ins and just check-ins with your boys are always so good. So that's why a big reason why we do this podcast.
There's nothing more important than checking up on your
contrary
buds.
to popular belief about the topics. We just want to know.
Yeah,
we just like connecting.
Yeah, and it's important.
That's the real point of this podcast is connection. So. Chris, how are you, man?
I'm good, dude. It's been a really good week. We're recording this one day before the episode comes out once again. Just the way the schedule's been going, we've really only had time on Sundays, but I had a really solid week. It was a deload week at the gym, which was nice. And spent some time with some friends. I watched my Patriots win another game Thursday with some of my buddies. Which is crazy. They're 9-2. Very fired up about that. I got a new tattoo on Friday. A little Joshua tree action on the inside of my arm. Very excited.
Huge news.
I'm very excited about that. I love it. My artist did a fantastic job. And she pretty much took a picture of a Joshua tree that I took when we were together and used that as a model. So that's really cool. And I like it. I think Joshua trees are so cool. And then yesterday, I walked downtown and met up with some of my friends for 5 to 8 beers, which was really great. We ended up we got together at one bar that was like a patio situation, and then somebody in the group was jonesing. Well, we were all, let's be honest, we were all jonesing to play pool and play some darts, and none of them live in Providence, so I was able to guide them to a lovely bar called the Wild Colonial, which is allegedly the oldest bar in Providence. And we played some cricket on the dartboard, and we played some pool, and then we ended up grabbing dinner afterwards, and it was a heater. It was pretty good. I do unfortunately have to report that I lost cricket myself and my buddy Tom. We were playing Tom's girlfriend and her friend, and we just couldn't finish, man. So I'm an honest man. I can't lie and say that we won, because we didn't. But it's been a good week. I'm excited for Sunday as well. Once we get through this podcast, so that's how I'm doing.
Good. Yeah, you just got to learn from your mistakes, come out stronger next time, make the adjustments, and it's a long season, so. Yeah. Dart season is about to be in full effect with the
games,
daylight.
Any kind of games, man. Darts, pool,
indoor games at the bar definitely coming back strong for this winter, as they always do. It's pool season, it's billiards, it's bowling, league play. A lot of league plays out there right now.
A lot of league play is going on, that's for sure. So, how are you, Ethan? Let's get your check in on the books here to start the episode.
I'm doing pretty well. I had a nice week. A nice week of work going on. Took care of what we had to take care of. Progressing in the. I secured my first promotion, Chris. I got $1 increase on the wages.
Hey, when one of the boys wins, we all win.
That's right, dude. An extra $1 for an hour of work. I mean, dude, at the end of the week, that's a bar tab. You know,
dude, I'm telling you, it adds up.
It adds up, dude.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So we were happy, and we retroactively put it to the week that we just had. So it came in right away. A little bonus.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah,
it
that's
was good.
important.
Had a really nice week, solid day of training Friday. Just got to focus on that.
Mhm.
What did I do? Can't remember what I did Friday night. Oh, yeah, just family time. A lot of family time this
Yeah,
weekend. So
that's solid.
it's good. We actually got to play some big screen golf. Did a golf simulation. So we played Augusta. I went like 12 over at Augusta and had a birdie. So
There we go, man.
I don't know. I was joking. I was like, if you have a hole-in-one on a simulation, do you talk about it? Of course you talk about it, but do you count it? The answer is no, but
you definitely talk about it though.
You definitely talk about it.
You got to talk about it.
Yeah, I can already hear it be like, yeah, I mean, it doesn't count, but like, does it? Like, so
good.
Yeah, man, really solid week. I mean, we are in the throes of fantasy football right now. I mean, this is like the do or die time, and Chris and I are in a league, and there's a lot going on, and we're all knotted up. So like, I got a big day of football to watch, and Chiefs play the Broncos, and it's going to be it's going to have a lot of implications on the division and whatnot. You got the Eagles, Lions, got the Rams, Seahawks. So, dude, I'm looking forward to not doing much today. The problem is, it really does paralyze me, football on Sundays. I mean,
yeah,
it's hard.
The funniest thing with you, Ethan, is we have this podcast. You get later in the week and it becomes very pressing that we need to get it done, and we have a finite amount of time. And you are never more responsive and like more quick with your responses and reliable than when it has something to do with football or fantasy football. Like, I'll text you and be like, hey man, like we gotta get a topic nailed down. You know, I'll text you like Thursday night and I don't hear from you, but like you're 7 a.m. the next morning, you're in the fantasy football group chat, like getting everything going. Like, yeah, you're definitely paralyzed by the pigskin.
Yeah, I am. I got commissioner duties. I'm trying to run a good league here. But yeah, so anyway, it's been it's been good. You know, it's the weather's been solid. It's been really windy, and we're just trucking along, dude. Thanksgiving's right around the corner, so
yep. Good stuff, awesome. Man. Yeah, next week is the Thanksgiving episode. So
I wish we could check in with all the patrons out there.
I know.
All we can do is thank them.
All we can do is thank them.
We do have some dialogue though. We read reviews. We read one last week, and we love to read reviews. Yeah, so
we're active in the Patreon chat. We got a little bit of that going on. So it is time to thank our Patreon supporters. And if you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, you can navigate to the link in the show notes. You can join at any financial level per month that you choose. We have preset $2, $5, and $10 levels, but feel free to choose your own adventure. And if you're a top tier Patreon supporter, we will thank you by name every week to start the podcast. We would like to thank Abraham and Frank. We would like to thank the Cracker Man, and we would like to thank Jamie Lynn, Doug Endy, Carlene Salona, What the Fuck is Up, Denny's, Black Hole Sean, Nikki Six, Seattle 4 Fanboy from New Jersey, Eddie Vedder got me through my second divorce, Sherry Matthews, Gochu John, Russell, King Buzzo stole my hair, A Bit Dusty, The Michael Dooley Project, Ultra Mega OK, Heidi in Chains, Grits Likes Pasta, and Looking California, Feeling Minnesota. That's the list.
That's the list.
That's it, man.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Like I said, you can become 1-2. We can say your name if you want to join the top level at $10. There's also a 5 and a 2, and yeah, it's it's a worthy cause.
It is definitely a worthy cause.
All
it
right.
Always is.
Well, let's get into some this day music. This one is there's some good stuff on the list, and we've been pretty topical with all of our episodes the last month or so, because a lot goes on in the fall and the autumn season. So
it's a big time for album releases and everything. Like the months from like August through November, I feel like there's always the calendar's jam packed, and no exception today. We've got some later on some albums and whatnot that we'll be talking about. But to start off on this day in music, on this day, November 17th, 1938, Gordon Lightfoot was born, and he's been heavily in the news lately because of the 50th anniversary of the sinking of the SS Edmund Fitzgerald on Lake Superior. That was his song. But I mean, outside of the Fitz, man, Gordon Lightfoot, his discography and everything that he has going on or had going on is just top tier, man. We were just we were talking about Sundown. That whole Sundown album is so unbelievable. But I mean, you've obviously got If You Could Read My Mind, I think is like one of the best like sad boy songs that's ever been written. But my favorite Gordon Lightfoot song is a song called The Watchman's Gone. It's very, very important. So we celebrate the birth of the great Gordon Lightfoot today.
Yeah, he's been heavily in the rotation. Obviously, in the last week there was a ton of internet memes and reels for the Fitz.
Gordon Lightfoot's stock is way up right now.
Yeah, and rightfully so. And it's funny, the band that we are that Chris is in as well. We've been jamming. He hasn't made a jam yet, but he's coming down for at some point. I know it. But we committed to playing "Sundown" by Gordon Lightfoot.
Oh yeah,
and
that's a smooth one. Yeah,
it's so fun. Yeah, it's really groovy, really fun. And I mean, his music, like it fits with like the Jim Croce's and the
that was a great era of music, man.
It was kind of
songwriting
is great.
Yeah, it was like the mix between like the traditional folk with like a little bit of crooner type vibes, and that stuff's always it's always gonna there's a sweet spot all the time for stuff like that.
I did see a little post that when he wrote the song, the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, he went to the producer and he heard it and he was like, we should record this. And they took it to the record company and they were like, yep, like, let's do this. This is a really good idea. And so they went into the studio and they got the band together and he's like, and the drummer was like, should I put drums to this? He's like, yeah, just feel it, like come in at the right, when they would come in and they played it on the first time and it was like, it went really well. And they were like, wow, that's awesome. And they, continually they played it perfect. Okay. And then they did a few more takes, but they were just like, that first one was it. So the one you hear, I'm pretty positive is the first take that they ever played together. And it was so good that they, like nothing else, they couldn't capture it again.
It's magic
like
sometimes. And you hear stories like that all throughout music where it's like the first take or the first couple of takes. And
I know that feeling where like, there is something about like that first run
when
through.
And
then you try to get there again and you can't get there. Like, it's a real thing. So pretty, yeah, pretty exciting that you love when it's a first take.
Yeah.
That's all this podcast is, first take.
Exactly.
Not like
one
Stephen A. Smith, but
thankfully not.
All right, moving ahead to 1966. Jeff Buckley is born, and we've done an episode recently, I think this past summer, right, when his death date came around, and Buckley was an incredible singer-songwriter and a fragile musician who has a story, as many people do, and we enjoy getting into his music and watching a lot of his live stuff. He's one of those guys where you really understand watching his live. That can be said with a lot of these musicians, I guess, like Elliot.
Jeff Buckley, though, man, he'd be 59 today. A lot of the musicians that passed in their 20s or 30s, you spend a lot of time thinking about what it would be like if they were around today. And I've never considered that until this moment with Jeff Buckley. Like, I really wonder what he would be doing. And because he passed so young, like it's just so hard for me to picture like what he would be like today and musically where he would go. And
I was gonna say there are definitely some artists where you're just like, this was not their final form. Like they would have
one
made
album
changes
during his life. That was it. Just the
like Andy
album.
Wood. There's a lot of talk, that he would have transformed. And I remember on the episode we had Scott Crane. Like he's like if he would have stayed alive, like he would have went solo. Like he would have been an act by himself. And like, and that's such an interesting thought because you picture him in a band and Buckley. I mean he did a lot solo, and you just never know where he would have went, but it would have been great. So
yeah, absolutely. So that episode that we did on Jeff Buckley, believe it or not, Ethan, was 1 year ago. That was episode number 190. If you're interested,
1 year.
November 11th, 2024, we released that. So
makes sense.
Way back in the day now. So, but happy birthday, Jeff, wherever you may be. Moving forward, 1 year on this day in 1967, Ben Wilson, who is the keyboardist for Blues Traveler, was born. And we've been popping in and out of the Blues Traveler zone, so important to shout out Ben Wilson for his contributions to that band and just Blues Traveler as a whole.
Amen.
Yeah, important to note there. So
no one like them,
No, man.
If you want the Blues Traveler, you got to go to Blues Traveler.
Absolutely.
There is no substitute.
Nope.
All right, in 1971, on November 17th, the Faces release A Nod Is As Good As a Wink to a Blind Horse.
This is such a good studio album, man. I put this one on the list.
You put
here.
This on, yeah. Are you a big Faces guy?
I am a big Faces guy.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, dude. I love Ronnie Lane, who he sang some of their vocals, obviously, along with Rod Stewart did a lot of them when he joined the band, because before they were the Small Faces, and then when Rod joined, they upgraded to just Faces. But yeah, this album, man. Stay With Me is in my opinion is just such it's such an unbelievable song. Ronnie Wood in the mix as well, obviously, but my favorite Faces song is on this album. It's called Debris, or they pronounce it Debris because they're Brits or whatever. And this song I've been toying with adding to my playlist of perfect songs. It's just a really, really great song, and I've listened to it at so many different points in my life when like things are changing and whatnot, and it's just a really good reflective song. Great guitar tone from Ronnie Wood on it too, and Ronnie Lane takes lead vocals on it, and it's just really special. Such a cool band too. Like, you have somebody like Rod Stewart in the band who's such a great vocalist, but they gave space to everybody else who would sing vocals on this album and throughout the band's history as well. I always think that's really cool when you create space for people who you wouldn't consider to be like the most powerful vocalist in the group. Anytime you get different voices in there, it's super, super cool and interesting. And the Faces were definitely able to do that. So happy birthday to that album, man. It's pretty good. We've got one more here for this day in music history, and we're going up to 2000. And on this day in 2000, Nickelodeon released the Rugrats in Paris movie, a seminal part of the childhoods for all of us who were born in the early to mid 90s. This kind of ties into music because the movie release skyrocketed Who Let the Dogs Out by the Baha Men into the public consciousness. When I was a kid, Ethan, I had a little boom box in my room, and like it had a spot for cassettes, like CDs. Like I didn't have any. I had some cassettes, and I loved that song because of the Rugrats movie, and like somebody, like I think my mom or somebody, like a little stocking stuffer, like got me like the cassette of that Baha Men album, and like I would just like sit in my room and listen to Who Let the Dogs Out like over and over again. Like I didn't understand the concept that like there were other songs that were on that record, right? And I never listened to any of the other ones. I would just like I would click back to the one that I needed. So pretty great.
Yeah, kids just need, you just need the hit. Yeah. And that's how that song was on like a few of those like Kids Bop 2000s or whatever the different compilations were.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was kind of like, I mean, could be the first like major release I remember as well, because it definitely
everybody was into it. Yep,
dude.
It's so great, and it's funny too because it was about like people at the club, and like I was like 6 listening to it, so I had no understanding of what the club was, but I mean I still don't, let's be honest. So but happy birthday to the Rugrats movie, turning 25 today. It's pretty wild. So that's this day in music history for November 17th. The meat and potatoes of the episode is going to be other notable things that happened this week. 2 major events that occurred on November 18th throughout music history, more so as it relates to our neck of the woods in terms of genre. On November 18th of 1993, Nirvana recorded and performed their set for MTV Unplugged. And on November 18th of 2002, Audioslave released their debut self-titled studio album, and we've done episodes for both of these topics in the past. Our Audioslave episode was way back on episode number 71, which we released in August of 2022. Some good stuff on there. We definitely talked about the self-titled album there. And then we did an episode 1 year ago this week, episode number 191, about Nirvana Unplugged, going into the background, song by song type stuff, decisions that the band made. But seeing this, the anniversary for both of these things this week, we felt it was a good topic, good pair of topics to turn to and discuss and revisit and maybe share some newer thoughts that we have, developing thoughts, because this stuff's 20, 30 years old, but your relationship as a fan is always changing and always evolving. And even though Nirvana haven't been on the Unplugged stage since 1993, like the music still evolves with us as we evolve, and that's just a great relationship to continue to have with something that means so much. Yeah,
and this was, I think we did a ranking That might
we
be 2
ranked the
years ago.
Unplugs. Yeah.
Yeah, that might have been a few. We ranked all the Unplugs, and I think that we both had this as number one. Maybe maybe one of us had Alice in Chains. But I think that we came to a consensus that like this had the most, most impact, staying power. I mean, this is the one that gets watched like pretty religiously by some people, and rightfully so. I mean, they did stuff that you wouldn't expect to be done by a major band at the time, or just having the opportunity to be on TV. You want to think like you want to push your hits, you want to push your songs, and like really get new fans. And like that's not what Nirvana did. They did it for themselves. They played for kind of like the music fans out there, and the people that they just played for themselves, and they put on an incredible performance. And like I said, we went to length why we like it. I mean, just the stripped down aspect of it, the, Kurt's crazy vocals at times, and just the real interaction that you don't find at it shows, like just the true, like, he's just talking to the crowd throughout the entire time, and they're making jokes, and they're like, they're messing up chords or strings and, tuning all the time, and just,
it was
just having a good time on stage.
Absolutely. And the thing with this one too, there were so many editions of MTV Unplugged, and, MTV had been in pursuit of Nirvana doing an MTV Unplugged special for, damn near ever since Nevermind had come out in 91. And by the time it finally came down, like the expectations obviously were so unbelievably high, because Nirvana at the time, one of the biggest bands in the world, and Kurt Cobain, one of the most sought after public figures, certainly in the music world. So like when you have those expectations that you're going up against, you have like the relative discomfort of doing something like that, because it was quite different from anything that Nirvana had really done before. And obviously they started out more or less as like a punk band, in the 80s, and just the ethos of it is so different from what they did, and the expectations were so high, and like the nerves that Kurt especially had for this one, the fact that like all of those things weren't they weren't a match, and they were able to overcome those things and create something that's iconic. And I would say like more so than any other Unplugged, like Nirvana Unplugged is synonymous with Unplugged, and is really I think Nirvana, more so than probably any other band from that time, is synonymous with MTV. Like you can't really think of one without the other, in terms of these categories. And anytime you can make an impact like that is really, really special, and they certainly knocked it out of the park here. We always talk about the set list here, and the MTV bigwigs obviously wanted Nirvana to play all of the hits, and they were hammering the Bleach album, they were hammering covers. They wanted, they had all these pie in the sky dreams of who would come on and be the guests for it, and he turned to the brothers Meat, Kirk and Chris Kirkwood from the Meat Puppets, and that's just classic Kurt. That's like quintessential Nirvana. Like they handled it, looking back, obviously they handled it exactly how you would expect Nirvana to handle something like that, playing a steady diet of other bands or other musicians' songs when everybody just wanted to hear Teen Spirit or something like that. And it's really, really special.
I'm looking at the set list now, and I remember like trying to say choose a favorite song, and you really can bounce around and pick like any performance.
There's really two categories
list.
If you're trying to pick a favorite song. It's like your favorite Nirvana song that they performed, or your favorite cover, because when you put them all together, it really just it's so difficult to choose.
Yeah, and they did a good job picking covers, because they didn't just pick like they didn't just cover
who knows what
Fame by David Bowie or something, like a big popular song. Like they picked a Vaseline song, and Lead Belly and Meat Puppets and whatnot, and so like a lot of times people think that it's their song, because they did such a good job, and that's how it's. I mean, it was a really good cover and a well chosen one, because people would definitely get upset when they take like a really popular song and play it totally different, and like I don't usually get upset with it. You can choose not to like it, but it's like
right.
Most of the times the artist that is being covered is like, oh, this was I really enjoy their take on it. Just like last week at the rock and roll inductions, 21 Pilots did a version of Seven Nation Army.
Yes, and for the White Stripes induction.
And Jack White said it was, he's like, this is awesome. This is a different version, really great. And a lot of people were like, this is shit. People didn't like it. And no, it's just like, it's fun when things are reimagined, because Yeah, when you have
Yeah,
a
and
song that is like really well done, I mean, it
takes a little bit of guts to do that too, especially in such a big forum like a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction or a highly anticipated Unplugged set. Like to be experimental in that point, it is a little bit of a gamble. And I think for Nirvana, like they were never really necessarily concerned with like what the optics would be or, you know, what the commercial success would or wouldn't be, you know, because at that point, I mean, they're you know, they were bound by nothing at that point, and they certainly were not going to, you know, bend the knee to whatever the pundits would want. And that's just the, you know, I think of Nirvana, I think of that, you know, that the famous quote that that Kurt Cobain has where, you know, he says like punk is musical freedom, and like you play the things that you want to play, and it doesn't matter, you know, what you look like or what your product looks like. It's, you know, if you play something that you love and you're there for the music, then that is the only validating thing that you need in your camp, you know. And it's like if you just kind of keep your eye on the ball in that regard, then, you know, you're doing yourself and the music a great service. And I think they were true to that throughout their careers. And obviously this was one of the last major things that they did, you know, towards the end of '93, and they continued touring in utero, you know, through the rest of '93 and early parts of '94. But, you know, Kurt takes the stage in November of '93, and he's gone, you know, April 5th, 1994. So this was right up at the end. And similarly to the Buckley thing that we were talking about before, Andrew Wood, like, you know, Kurt's one of, if not the biggest what if when it comes to music. And as it relates to this set as well, it has one of my favorite what ifs from the grunge era, the story where Kurt Cobain had invited Mark Lanegan to perform during Unplugged and sing on Where Did You Sleep Last Night, and Mark declined, which that's such a big what if for me. And their relationship goes back many years, and they had planned to do a Leadbelly cover album together, and they tried it, and they just they were so differential to one another in the studio and as it related to the project that they just never got anywhere, because Kurt had really looked up to Mark, and by that point Mark was like, dude, like, you guys are absolutely massive, like why would you listen to me, you know, for creative direction? And, you know, they ended up getting together, and Novoselic and Cobain actually performed on Mark Lanegan's cover of Where Did You Sleep Last Night, which appeared on his first solo album, The Winding Sheet. But it just kind of makes you think of, you know, if just for there to have been footage of that live would have been so special for a lot of fans. But I think anybody who's a Lanegan fan would have absolutely loved that, as I certainly would have. So, you know,
I haven't listened to his version.
It's pretty good. Yeah. His first studio album, The Winding Sheet, is like it's so lo-fi and like interestingly put together, because Sub Pop signed him to do a solo album, and like he had never done anything solo before, and he didn't know how to play the guitar, so he was working an overnight job, and he's like, they're paying me $40,000 to do this album or whatever it was. Like, he needed the money, so he said yes, and he's like, I'll just figure out everything out later. So he was working an overnight job, like at a security desk or something, where he had a lot of free time, and he was like, shit, I have to deliver on this album. Like, I have to write songs, I have to do all these things. So he would sit at his desk at his job and come up with melodies and lyrics in his head, and then he would go home after his job and he would match chords from like a Mel Bay guitar chord book to match the melody, which is the complete opposite way that people typically do it. They write music first, and then the melody and everything and the lyrics come afterwards. And he had this like really shitty guitar, and like he would just kind of work through like which chords might fit with the melody that he had come up with that night. And because of that, like, for anybody who's trying to play those songs from The Winding Sheet, like, it's a little unnatural, because some of the chord progressions are a little unnatural. The strumming patterns are a little unnatural, because it was the process was flipped on its head. But it's so interesting, and it was the start of, you know, an unbelievably fruitful solo career. And by the time he did Whiskey for the Holy Ghost in you know, '93, and when it came out in '94, it was, you know, such a different process, and he had come such a long way. But it's a really, really cool ground zero for his solo career, which in my opinion vastly outshines, I think, anything the Screaming Trees did.
Mm-hmm.
Cool stuff though.
That is cool stuff. Yeah, I think a residential Mark Lanigan historian over here.
Absolutely. I'm easily found.
Oh yeah. If you have any questions, he wouldn't call himself an expert, but getting close.
Yeah, dude. Something, Ethan, you might appreciate if you're an audiobook guy, but Mark Lanigan's memoir, Sing Backwards and Weep, was just added to the Spotify library as an audiobook.
Nice.
And I've been savoring. I haven't started it. I've read his memoir.
Who's reading it?
Mark.
Oh, no way.
Mark read for the audiobook, dude.
Oh, that's a no-brainer.
You got to check it out. And like, I've always wanted to listen to the audiobook. That's one of those cases
that's better than reading it yourself.
100%. Yeah. So like, he released it in 2020 and he did the reading of it for the audiobook.
Good.
And I've been savoring it. I've been holding off all these years of listening to it because I've already read the book like 3 times, but I got to go back and just listen to him tell the stories.
Gosh, that would be sweet.
Yeah, that's going to be
depending on what type of recording, maybe you might have like extras like in between chapters, or who knows.
Yeah, I don't know how it works out, but yeah, that's going to be a winner. So once
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be turning my attention to that one this winter for my walks. So yeah, absolutely. That would have, once again, just tying it back in, like, it would have been so cool if Mark had taken the stage. But the Meat Puppets did such a good job as well, obviously.
They did.
And that was a big moment for them, obviously. Like, I think your average fan who was, who knew Nirvana because they saw them on MTV may or may not have even been aware of the Meat Puppets, or less so even their music. So, and that's cool, whether it was intentional or not, it introduced couple of very talented musicians to a much wider audience, which is always a great benefit because it's good music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so good time to go back and listen to the Unplugged session. I mean, you can find it anywhere. They have the album that you can listen to, and yeah, and you know where to go there. So, but it is always better to watch live. A good watching experience. But I'm sure everybody's watched it, tens and 20s of times. So
it was the album that I listened to when I was having my wisdom teeth yanked out of my mouth.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny right there.
It got me where I needed to go.
All right. Moving on to, I guess, 9 years later. Yeah, 9 years later, Audioslave released their debut studio album.
That's kind of wild that it was only 9 years, because for me, like, Nirvana Unplugged and Audioslave are, which they're 2 entirely different eras, but like the difference in era and style seems larger than what 9 years could account for. That's kind of that's an interesting.
And this was really important, right? I mean, you have Rage Against the Machine, and Zach De La Rocha has left, and they were a big outfit in the 90s doing awesome stuff, and countercultural and stuff, and Chris Cornell is doing his solo work, and then all of a sudden, it's funny, I guess Rick Rubin was the guy that was like, you got to get Chris Cornell to step in, and then they create this incredible super team of like Rage Against the Machine, and they add in Chris Cornell, who, like, I mean, Zach De La Rocha is a special vocalist and does stuff, but like, yeah, you got Chris Cornell coming in. He adds a different type of bite to your album and your performance, and that's exactly what they did. They did some awesome performances. You guys can picture it. Like, obviously, this album is just a heater full of like just unreal, I don't know, guitar riffs and sounds, and like, I think half these songs are on everybody's workout playlist and whatnot. And
well, here's
a really
the thing,
good
like,
album.
People think that the super team began with the Miami Heat with Bosh, D Wade, and LeBron James, but like, it was done before. Like, this was a super team. The Highwaymen and Outlaw Country, they were a super team. The Traveling Wilburys were definitely a super team. George Harrison, Jeff Lynne, Tom Petty, Roy Orbison, and Bob Dylan. I mean, come on. So it has been done before, but this was this iteration of a super team was really, really special, very highly anticipated too. And all throughout that year, 2002, like, there were leaks on the internet of stuff, what the project was going to be called, what the songs themselves. But this album came out on November 18th, and then they ended up making their very famous live debut on The Late Show with David Letterman on November 25th, where they played some of the greatest songs from that album, starting with Coach Eyes, which they recorded for that that evening's late show. But then they did that live set, that mini set that they did on the marquee of the Ed Sullivan Theater in New York with Light My Way, Gasoline, Coach Eyes, Like a Stone, and Set It Off. And it's such great footage. And what a blessing it is, like, once again, ground zero for that band. Everybody, it's heavily documented, which is super, super special. And this one, Ethan, like, Audioslave has its detractors, right? Because there's people that are rage people, and they're like, the lyrics are just like, there's nothing to them. There's no substance, or like, rage was kind of neutered and like kind of mainstream rock. And then the same people that loved Soundgarden for, how experimental they could be in the odd time signatures and the weird tunings and everything. Like, this didn't have any of that, but for what it was, I still love Audioslave, and they're never far from my rotation. And it just, it's a project that, for me at least, it works. And I think you can very easily appreciate Rage and Soundgarden, but also, find some common ground on this one.
Yeah, I just want to bring up also the artwork. It's very recognizable. It's great, the flame, the eternal flame, and the cover was designed by Storm Thorgerson, who was best known for his work. Yeah, he worked with Pink Floyd, who has some of the best album artworks that you can get. Oh yeah, and this is a little quick quote that I'll say, because I think it's a good description of the band, but it's pretty out there in a way. It says, the music of Audioslave struck us as brooding and sultry, carrying a sense of threat, as if about to burst asunder or erupt in fury, much like a volcano. We knew, therefore, the setting against which something or some act would either appear or take place. So the eternal flame, or the flame of remembrance, embodying the memory of two previous incarnations, namely Soundgarden and Rage Against the Machine. It is a large sculpture, metal-like sounding brass, which pilgrims or slaves of sound were duty-bound to visit to pay homage to their beater. The location is the volcanic island of Lanzarote, a truly remarkable place. So it's kind of cool, like it's this eternal flame that pays homage, that people in their world, they have to go and pay homage to the eternal flame that was Soundgarden and Rage Against the Machine.
I love that, dude. That's really good.
It's bad. I mean, the cover when you see it, like it's badass. And,
yeah, man, dude. Audioslave, they were big business back then. This was a big deal. And opinions on this definitely fall into a couple of different camps. Like, I feel like Audioslave's not really something that, if you're a music fan, like, you have an opinion of one way or another. Like, I don't think there's anybody that's kind of neutral about it. And I have had the pleasure of reading, which I will recount at this point, the Pitchfork review of Audioslave's self-titled debut album. Pitchfork released this review on November 25th, 2002. So, right after the album came out, actually the same day that they made their debut on The Late Show. And I'm going to popcorn around here because the writers of this review left little to be unknown about their stances about Audioslave. So some of the review: us Gen Xers never gave the world shit. We don't care about anything. We don't even care about ourselves. We blew through our .com cash and we're still stuck with our student loans. Our biggest political moment was turning Ralph Nader into a presidential spoiler. And now justice comes swiftly knocking. It is time to face that which we fear the most, the second coming of Lollapalooza's grunge rock all-stars. Recent days have seen the reemergence of an eerie number of mega celebrity has-beens, from Jane Addiction backing Courtney Love on tour to Chris Novoselic joining forces with meat puppeteer Kurt Kirkwood and Eyes Adrift, combining their powers in the hopes of forming one mightier super beast. And yeah, we have seen these bands and known our sins, and the discipline was just and fair. But repent we did not, and so as further castigation, we now find ourselves faced with the ultimate grievance: Soundgarden frontman assuming vocal duties for Urban Outfitters Politico's Rage Against the Machine. Let the punishment fit the crime. And this review goes on to say, bassist Tim Comerford and drummer Brad Wilk fall in line, but it's Cornell that's made a bitch out of all of them. From forcing them to cancel a slot on the Ozfest bill to sticking with the most asinine band name of the year, it was Cornell's idea to dub this bloated masturbation Audioslave. And the name says everything with the same exacting precision that it says nothing at all. Audioslave. It's like it was tailor-made for a Sam Goody voiceover. It's kind of incredible how slick and lifeless the Rage band sounds without De La Rocha spitting all over everything. The guys just autopilot their way through the most generic hard rock possible behind Cornell's Dio-like wailing about highways and death and more highways. Morello tries to stick with his wanky solos, but all his efforts amount to little more than an indulgent novelty. He is, of course, less an embarrassment than Cornell. Now, I'll freely admit being a Soundgarden fan. I remember when all the guys admired his politically correct take on machismo, and all the girls swooned at his hairy good looks and dreamed of just ripping the flannel right off him. To be fair, his voice sounds great, even years after his larynx-shredding throat gore. To the effect, unfortunately, is lost when you realize that all the lyrics are complete gibberish. Set it off, my children. I will wait for you like a stone. I will wait for you there alone. Or, best of all, I am a virus. He also rips some pseudo-spiritual lyrics from the latest Christian grunge bands, which is ironic because, well, you know the drill. The student becomes the teacher and they all ride the short bus together. And this goes on to say, it is so frustrating because Cornell would be better suited to virtually anything else. The man would sound more at home duetting with Shania Twain. Listen to that. I am in awe of his lungs. He belts these songs like they never went out of style, and he's still got that curly, louder-than-love era mane thrown back and glistening. Like he wants to shake the studio to its very foundation with the power of all his gristled fury, when, all of a sudden, the effects kick in and morph his voice into a fucking sitar. It might just be the most ridiculous and ill-timed production trick of his career, and all I can picture is Cornell high-fiving Rick Rubin and hitting the beach to play volleyball with Creed. Duck, because America's gonna vomit. Pitchfork gave it a 1.7.
Gosh, dude. Oh, man, that is so funny. That last bit, high-fiving Ruben and playing volleyball. When I didn't know what to think, and then they gave the lyric, sitting there waiting for you like a stone.
It's funny, too,
made
because
his voice a sitar. Oh, my gosh.
These fucking Pitchfork reviewers, like, they just castigated Audioslave for, like, masturbating and just, like, doing what... Like, that review was masturbation. This reminds me of the scene in Good Will Hunting where Will is sitting in Sean McGuire's office, and Sean is like, what do you want? And Will's like, I want to move up to Nashua and become a shepherd and have a nice little spread. And Sean kicks him out of his office. He's like, if you want to jerk off, go do it at home with a moist towel. Don't waste my time. Like this review is ridiculous.
It is crazy. Yeah, I mean, I can see where he's coming from.
I understand the criticisms of the lyrics and of the lesser like Rage, but like neutered a little bit and more mainstream. But like, dude, Rage was really mainstream at the time. Like those songs were everywhere. They were so commercially successful, and like they didn't take the political angle in Audioslave that they did with Rage Against the Machine. But like, I think it would have been weirder if they just substituted Cornell and kept doing the same exact thing.
This is just what happens when you have two bands you like or a band and stuff, and they stop playing, and you want them to come back, but instead they do something that you don't agree with, and then you have to react to it.
Yeah.
Versus people like us, where in 2002, I'm 8 years old and you're 6. So like when we get the album,
to Audioslave,
we get the album, like, oh my gosh, like, because the history is always written, but like, but yeah, you got to get that piece out right when it comes out, and it's crazy. That's such a review right there.
The feedback loop of manufacturing outrage, and Pitchfork always does this shit. They just they need to be edgy for edginess' sake, and they need to ruffle some feathers. Yeah, it's so stupid. But I thought that was really funny just reading that 23 years later at this point, because I mean, I don't know, like I think there's a lot of the early 2000s rock that I think has aged pretty well. All things considered, like I think it's aged much better, for example, than a lot of the late 80s, hair metal type stuff, which, but people create with the conventions and within the styles of their time. So it's like, you can't shoot the messenger for, they were men of their time, and this was in, and clearly,
you can write that review for any band,
you could totally,
any album, and you're like, oh, they're pandering, they're just doing this.
If you want to throw stones, if you wake up in the morning and decide to throw stones, dude, like you're not going to have any shortage of targets, and like if there's clearly an agenda with this review, and they certainly wasted no time in getting down to business there. But I don't know, man. I mean, everybody's got an opinion, and that's not mine. I mean, I certainly feel that way about some things, but I also think too, like, so that review is like, and I hate when reviews are preachy, and they're, you know, clearly trying to instruct the reader to, you know, to take one side, or like, a review shouldn't be a persuasive argument, you know.
Really. I mean, to categorize that as a review is like, not really. It's
taking some liberties.
It's like
with
an opinion. Yeah, it's like a very strong. It's like I don't even know grading.
It's a diatribe. Yeah, it's crazy. So I mean, I absolutely don't feel that way about Audioslave. I
don't hate it that much.
No, dude,
that
like,
much.
I like they're definitely right in the sense that like the lyrical quality that Chris wrote in Soundgarden, or that like Rage was doing with Zach, like that took a massive step down. But like, I think for me, obviously it's all hypothetical and the whole hindsight thing. But if they tried, you know, to do the Rage thing, or if Chris tried to do the Soundgarden, I don't think it would have worked. Like those projects already existed.
They'd write a review about how they tried to do the exact same thing and it didn't work.
Yeah, and it also would have gotten a 1.7. So
yeah, it's like creativity is always going to be.
Pitchfork is bullshit, man. I hate those bastards.
I hate anybody that gives these reviews.
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
Us.
I want Pitchfork to review the Grunge Bible podcast and give us like a 1.1.
They would have a heyday with that.
A lot of people could have a field day with what we do, Ethan.
We're easy targets. We've been targeted before, and I'm sure it'll come. And yeah, that's so funny. Maybe I don't know. We should review Pitchfork.
You know what? I think that's a good idea. We should Pitchfork review Pitchfork next week on the podcast, and we'll give them a grade. Let's see how they like it.
I love it, dude. Yeah,
could be the move.
See how they went downhill ever since they, you know, started, or pick one thing and they've been shit.
Oh yeah. Well,
it'll be good.
To close with some positivity, I'd say, you know, this album is such an easy one to put on, and you just roll with it for a while. Like, once again, and it's all about highways. So if you're on the highway, it's good. If you're lifting, it's good. If you're trying to get in that mindset, it's good. I would say currently my favorite would be Light My Way. I'm a big fan of that song, and that was the first song that they ever wrote together as a band, actually. So, you know, once again, like kind of at the beginning of this project. So, they're remarkably consistent throughout this project, and I think it definitely serves its purpose.
Yeah. You know, it's the album is solid for my listening purposes. So I go there every once in a while. I mean, I don't know which is. Yeah, did you say I Am a Highway or Show Me How to Live? Was your?
I said Light My Way.
Yeah. They're all pretty solid. I don't know which one of my favorite. Probably. I do like I Am the Highway.
It's hard to say sometimes.
Yeah. So I don't know. Go give it a listen and then send your reviews to us too. Write your best Pitchfork-esque review in any way you'd like, and we'll read the best one next week of somebody going down it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it'd be pretty good. So November 18th, very important day on the music calendar. So, make your rounds, go give your listens, go give your views, go back if you're interested to episode 71 and 191 for our takes on, our deeper takes on some of this stuff. So it's pretty good, man. It's always important to commemorate this stuff. So I'm glad that we had the chance to do that today. Ethan, unless you have any closing thoughts on these projects, I'd like to take this time to thank our producer Drew McFadden for all of his work on the show. Still rolling along here. So, and as we always say, we got to get him on the show soon.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, Drew, hope you're doing well, man. Keep it up.
Keep up the good work.
Keep up the good work. And so the last thing, I guess we'll do a song of the week real quick. And it's funny, I feel like I don't have necessarily, it's going to be hard for me to pick here, but I do have an interaction I'd like to share.
Yeah.
On Friday, I went to Haverford College to train, and my coach was there, and we had a radar gun, and he had to go teach a class. So he's like, "Hey, just ask these baseball guys to do it. They're cool." So I met them, Miles and one other guy, and So I was doing my reps and they had some music playing and, we talked a little bit, but then all of a sudden the music changed. They were playing like some Meek Mills and some, rap, and they were doing batting practice, and they were going to do a little bit of a long toss to close out the session. And they put this song on, and I knew what it was instantaneously. And it was Arcadia by Goose. And it was like a live version. Yes. And I heard it like immediately. And like within like 3 seconds, I mean, like I said, I knew, and I was like gonna say something, and then I didn't, and I was just like, nah, I gotta say it. I was like, Goose, you guys like Goose? And they both looked, and they picked up like dang. And like I said, it was like literally just the intro of like the crowd still talking.
But when you know.
Yeah, it was like but it was also like if somebody calls it out, it's like that they know.
Yeah, it's not a casual person
they know
that's
ball.
Calling that out. Yeah, they know ball.
Like they know ball, and they're like, oh, you're a Goose fan? I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. And they're like, wow, you got that really quick, blah blah blah. I started talking like, so all of a sudden they were at the Philly show that was like a couple weeks ago, and it was their first show, and we started talking, and I told them about the Greek theater, and they were blown away that we were at that show.
Grateful Larry.
Blown away. Yep, I showed them a picture of Grateful Larry. I don't know if they necessarily understood that, but I think they did. But they were super excited, and they were going. There was like, it was cool. So we just talked a lot about music, and they, just a little bit, and they. Yeah, it was really cool because they're both 20-year-olds, and they were like, dude, we got to go to more Goose shows. And I was like, dude, yeah, you got to go. And I said that I was like, my buddy, who went to Greek theater with me, like we might be going to Goose Miss up in Connecticut or Providence.
Man.
And they were like, oh my gosh, so it was cool. And then so right before I was like, you guys, what else do you listen to? And they gave a few other bands, and I was like, you got to listen to some Eggy guys. Mm-hmm. I was like, so I gave them the live version of Shadow to listen. We put it on at the end, and they were finishing up, and they they liked it. But I told them, I was like, their homework. I was like, go jam it out this weekend, see what you guys think. And they were super, they loved the idea. So I have full faith that they're putting in the work this weekend.
And this is why,
they were gung ho 20-year-old guys that were, into some music.
You were the
sage.
Yeah, you're the sage, dude. And this is why, if you're ever in the wild and you hear something that you like, bring it up to whoever put that on, because it's so fun to have those interactions. Like I remember even one time, like I had a work call, and like it was like 2 minutes before the meeting was set to start, and like one of my coworkers had like some music going on in the background, and like I knew who the artist was and like the song. I was like, oh, like, you're listening to Sharon Van Etten, and they're like, yeah, man, like this is good stuff. Like I didn't know that anybody like you would pick up on that. I was like, well, I'm a man of many mysteries, but like it's so fun to have those interactions, because like if I have something on, like if I'm playing something in the car, or like if I'm on the aux or the touch tunes or whatever, I want people to ask me about it. Like I want to talk about this stuff.
That's why I put it on. That's why I put it on.
Yeah, dude.
And it's funny too. You have that moment where you start that conversation, and then they like say a few things, and you're just like, all right, like how nerdy do I want to get it?
Yes, how deep do I want to get into this? Like
how much do I want to just word vomit? Like
do I tell them that Mark Lanegan and Kurt Cobain were going to have a Lead Belly solo album or a Lead Belly tribute cover album? Do I tell them?
Yeah, do I tell them all the shows, specific shows, and like go listen to this exact show in California or whatever? It's tough, man, it was funny. So I'll put that Aggie song on, and just it's nice, good. Man. It's I guess the moral is like that's the song that I gave to somebody to hopefully intro them to the band,
which is a pretty big responsibility.
Yeah, which is basically what we do here every week.
Like, we try. We definitely try. I like that. All right,
how about you, Chris?
It's my turn. Yeah, I have an easy pick actually. So yesterday, set the scene. It's probably like probably 5 p.m., 5:15 p.m. at the Wild Colonial in Providence. Really like dark inside, really, really, really old brick walls, hardwood floor that's seen a bunch of shit. We're playing darts, and they had some good stuff coming. There was some blues going on. There was some Rage Against the Machine was playing. Like they were all over the board.
Audioslave.
Yeah, Audioslave. Yeah, just absolute just masturbation technique of combining the two. But a song came on that I didn't know what it was, and I'm not I'm not bashful. Like if I want to hear something, like I'll Shazam it, or like I'll ask, the bartender, like, hey, what's on? So I pulled out Shazam, and for some reason I was drinking, at this point I was probably like 5 or 6 beers in, and I had shifted. I had High Life's at the first location, and the second one we went to, they had a bunch of European beers and stuff, and they had some English beers. And there's a beer called Old Speckled Hen, which is a favorite of mine. Anytime I see it, like I will order it. So I was, the Old Speckled Hens were going down easy, and the song came out. I was like, what is this? This is pretty good. Anyways, it was a song from Sonny and Cher called "The Beat Goes On," and like for some reason I was into it, man, and it's been stuck in my head since I heard it at the bar last night.
The beat goes on.
The beat goes on, man. The big beat, and I'm not like a Sonny and Cher guy. Like I remember as a kid, like my dad had a record player, and like he had a bunch of that shit from the '60s. So like, I would listen to it at that point, but for some reason it hit, and I want to tell people about it. So that's why it's going to be my song of the week.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah,
Love
dude,
it.
The beat goes on, man.
The big beat.
That's it. We've all been there a time or two. So
yep.
A couple of good suggestions here. We've got some notable events on the calendar that we have successfully commemorated. And now I think it's time to get out of here, Ethan.
It most definitely is.
Yeah.
Most importantly, next week is our Thanksgiving episode, one that we look forward to. And I had a good idea, Chris, and we're going to make this one mandatory that Drew is on. He needs to be on.
We need to reel him in.
It's all at friendship and Friendsgiving and family, and Drew, we got to have a pod with him on. So Drew, we're gonna text you. We're gonna have you on. So
we gotta figure this out, man.
It's gonna be a good one. I can't wait. We're gonna be doing I don't know, something special, but the Thanksgiving episode always brings some heat. So
absolutely,
we might just play all the hits.
Yeah, we might have to, dude.
The Last Waltz and Alice's Restaurant,
dude,
and all
Lanigan's
stuff.
birthday is the 25th as well. So that's going on that week. A lot going on. A lot of traffic.
Thank you, everybody. We'll talk to you guys next week on the same place.
Take care, everybody. Rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
Bonzer.